All right. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Fab, how you doing?
Good. A little technical issues this morning.
Yes.
All good. How was your weekend?
It was good.
A little technical issues this morning. Oh.
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. All right. Let's get into it as we're running a little late. I'm good. Yeah, it was good. It was a nice day on Saturday, so that was fun. Yesterday, a little more rainy, so a little more staying put. But yeah, it was good.
Stuff.
All right, Paul, are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right. So what if you have to hire somebody? What if you have to hire someone during this current time where you most probably can't meet them in person, and they're actually going to be forced to work from home, most probably, so not even meet their colleagues in person and whatnot. So I guess it's more of a two thing, like how do you hire somebody and how do you onboard them?
It's a good question. I think a lot of it is self-explanatory, but I think, let me put it this way. I think the reason you're asking that question and the reason people ask themselves that question is they're still not used to the new reality. They still think that to have a relationship, you've got to be live in front of someone. And as long as you have that prejudice, and I call it a prejudice, you're going to be stalled in what you're trying to do. Because honestly, the answer to that question is, who cares? You're just doing everything on Zoom. You onboard them on Zoom. You do everything on Zoom, or I say Zoom because we're using Zoom. But Teams or whatever virtual platform you're using, just do everything there. You have them talk to HR that way. You do the interviews that way. You have your meetings that way. You give them their information that way, or you call them on the phone. But as long as you have that prejudice or that limitation, you're going to keep asking yourself, "Oh my God, I've got to hire someone and I can't meet them in person."
Yeah.
Who cares? It's a new reality. Meet them virtually. And I know I'm being a little harsh on that one, but I like it. But to me, it's no different. You can check their references. You can have them do work. You can do role play. You can ask them tough questions. You can do everything that you would normally do in a meeting, other than have them stand right in front of you and look at their shoes and their belts and their clothing. But you can still read body language.
Which matters less and less. Yeah.
Yeah. But if,
and
if the guy's talking to you like this, well, that's a good indication of body language. You know what I mean? If the guy's, if the guy's like can't handle if he can't, or the girl can't handle, the person can't handle the virtual interaction, then you've got a problem. Sorry,
you're right.
You got me off on a rant there. I apologize.
No, that's fine. No, you're right. And ultimately, your process is the same. I know you do evaluations, you do in-person interviews, you do phone call interviews. I think you're right. And what I find interesting is that there's actually, for some people, some companies already do this, but for some companies, the opportunity to kind of expand your pool of candidates, because it's a good way to test if you could, like, to have remote workers. So, let's say your company is based in Montreal, and you absolutely want people in the office, which you can't do right now. Well, it actually means you might be able to go get a good employee somewhere outside of the city and further away, somebody you might not have considered initially. Yeah, I think so. I think there's an opportunity there to improve or move your culture forward and embrace the remote work for right now, but also for the long term. If I find somebody in Quebec City who's really good, doesn't want to relocate, well, now's the right moment to kind of onboard them and to make that work.
Yes, I agree. And I think a big part of, you're right, because physical distance shouldn't matter as much as it has in the past, Yeah. And I think we're really slow. And if I can give you an analogy, I studied in communications, and this is something that is very common in the adoption of new technology. And when I studied in communications, I remember we had, mass media, and we talked about all these things, and we talked about different mediums. And when people started filming in the early 1900s, they would film as though it was a theater. So they'd put the camera in the place of the human being, and it was just like a straight shot, and all you'd see is the person on stage. Now, as people started getting used to the medium, well, then they started doing angle shots and moving things around, and then they discovered the practicality and the uses of that medium as such. So right now, we're still thinking we're going to pretend we're in the same room, but, you know, use it differently, share your screen, do things differently. Think of the medium and how it can best serve you rather than thinking of the limitations of not being in the room with someone. And, you know, and when, even when they started recording, like if you think of early recordings, and that was a technological limitation, but if you listen to recordings from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, until multi-tracking was invented, they would just stick a mic or several mics out there and they'd record stuff live. And after that, they figured out, oh, you can record and add things. And so they learned to use the medium. So it's the same thing. So if today I say, hey, you know, I want to show you my calendar, Fab, or I want to show you, here, hold on. I'm just going to do an example here. Oh, I want to show you my calendar. Well, then I can just share. Okay, look, now we're doing a share mode. So this is where you can learn. Oh, I want to show you a video. Well, when you're live in person, it might be more clunky, but I was doing a Zoom call the other day and I was showing people videos and we're sharing the videos and we can talk. And there's actually some real benefits to doing it this way. What people also do, which I think is a really bad mistake, is that there are 10 people in a company in Montreal and there are 10 in Toronto. They'll all cram into a room and have the camera like 75 feet away and they're all there and they're talking and it doesn't go well. If you have 10 people in a meeting, make sure they're all sitting at their desk in the future and on their own cameras. That way everyone can see everything and you've got, and you can do it that way.
Yeah, the gallery view. Yeah, I agree.
Correct.
And I really like what you said about, you know, not looking at the limitations, but seeing what the benefits are. And, you know, I think, you know, I mean, a lot of companies do a lot of virtual and a lot of remote, you know, like a lot of clients from further away and stuff like that. So a lot of companies are kind of used to this. But I think a lot of companies can get used to it. Even if my clients are in Montreal, like there's no reason why I can't do 90% virtual. And, you know, when things get back to quote unquote normal, continuing that way. And yeah, once in a while you might want to do an in-person thing for whatever reason. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity here.
Yeah, and there's something else too I want to mention because I was talking specifically about this with a client last week. And she has a young daughter at home. She's a manager, and her husband now is going back to work because he's an essential construction worker. So as of this week, he'll be working, but he'll be home at 3. And she's saying, oh, how am I going to manage it with my daughter? I don't know what to do. She's at home. I said, listen, your work day no longer has to be, you know, 7 to 4 or 8 to 5. Your work day can now be 6 to 8, then 10 to noon, and then 4 to 6. Break up those times where you need to be with your kids. Go do those things, but if your employees are okay, do your one-on-one meeting from 6 to 8. It doesn't mean we expect you to be there from 6 to 8, but break up your day.
Yeah,
you know. And she was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, because in the old world, when you were physically there somewhere, you had to have working hours because people were congregating together. But now, if it's meetings, well, you know, if you want to do a meeting on a Saturday, work then. If you want, if you need to be with your daughter from, you know, 10 to 2 on a specific day, well, go be with your daughter from 10 to 2. You know, if you need to go to a workout class, I think the reality, this new reality, can set up collaboration in a very different way. Now, I know a lot of employers right now are going, oh my God, how am I going to control when my people work? Well, if you're controlling the way people work by the hours they're at work, you already have a problem. You know, unless they're doing a very menial, repetitive job. And I say menial, I don't mean that in a negative way, but if they're doing something where, you know, they're sweeping a floor or cleaning, but if it's intellectual work or work that requires, you know, anything that can be done at different times, you're not calculating it by the amount of time they're doing, you're calculating by the results of what you're getting from it. So
you're right.
There's some great opportunities in this new way of working that will probably permit you to increase the motivation of your employees, of the future person you're going to hire, by giving them the flexibility of being able to work how they have to work in the next little while.
You're right. This is awesome.
Thanks, Fab.
Nothing to add. No, I think a lot of companies will be for. Yeah, I think a lot of companies, just to wrap it up, like a lot of companies will be forced to move forward a bit. I think a lot of companies have already determined this, that flexible schedules and remote work and all that makes sense. A lot of companies were reticent. I think this will show them that, you know, it's doable. And you're right. I think it increases the motivation knowing that, oh, like I have a young kid and my kid normally naps at this time. And so I need to be available before to be able to put them down, is doable. Then you're like, oh, well, great. You know, like there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. And you just schedule your time around that. I hope a lot of companies take this as a new way of being as opposed to just a temporary pause.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits that can be learned from this. You know, I've been trying to go for a 2-hour walk every day with my wife. Well, sometimes I take the 2-hour walk at noon. Sometimes I take the 2-hour walk at 2, sometimes at 10. Well, I'll tell you that yesterday on Sunday, I worked from 2 to 5. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I was there and I did the work I had to do. And, you know, on Saturday, a little bit of work. So people might say, oh my God, now you're going to work 7 days a week. No, it's just to really control your own schedule and slot in work like you slot in the gym, like you slot in lunches, like you slot in dinners. That way you're in control. You know what's going on and you can enjoy your time. Now, if you're someone who needs the total weekend to decompress, that's fine. That's your thing. Hey, Saturday and Sunday, don't talk to me. Yeah. If you're someone who's really efficient from 9 to 5, that's fine. And you don't have kids at home that need your time, that's okay. Set up your schedule that way. But be flexible to your reality. Don't just clock in at 9 and clock out at 5, you know, do whatever, you know, is doing just because you feel it needs to be clocked in that way. Yeah. Be realistic in what you need to do. That's my opinion. But I honestly, and this is not a revelation, this is something I've been saying for a while, but a lot of people they hold on to things and they have a hard time.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to seeing that, you know, like if I can't see my employees, they're not working. And I think that's, you know, I mean, a lot of companies are no longer like that, but the ones that still are need to move forward. I think, you know, we started talking about what if I need to hire somebody, and the reality is if you're still struggling with all of this, you know, you're going to have a harder time because more and more companies will be available and open and they'll embrace this as a new reality. And if you're just hoping that things get back to normal so I can get my employees back in the office and just watch what they're doing, it's going to be hard for you to hire somebody.
Yeah, I agree. And let's be honest too, if you're a manufacturer of any sort and you need collaboration or they need to be in a physical location to build something, it's very different. Yeah. You can have people working different hours. If Jane needs to continue the process after Jim's put this together, well, you need to have that coordination.
Now, of course.
But you know, for sales or marketing or a lot of
accounting
jobs,
or HR,
HR,
any office work.
Yeah, any office work or any design work, any creative work. You know, there needs to be, and I think those are the companies that are going to strive, the ones that have flexibility and are capable of adjusting to what is new normal for now. You know, I think some things will go back to the way they were once we're done with this quarantining, but I think a lot of things can be learned and applied to a new reality, which will make things better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Fab.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Talk to you